at 6:30 Eastern on FS1. Sponsored by Volkswagen, a presenting partner of U.S. Soccer.
Do 2 W-2s make a W-4?
Hi, I'm April. I know tax season can be a little messy. With Tax Act, you get your maximum refund. Switch to Tax Act and start for free.
Tax Act.
Standing with Ukraine. Slovenia's Prime Minister joins Neil to discuss his visit to Kyiv and NATO's upcoming summit to take on Russia's continued aggression. Tomorrow on Your World.
I started Upsy because I was tired of watching people pay too much for store warranties. We offer lower prices, no pressure, and better customer service. If you're tired of their way, come try the Upsy way.
Upsy, the smarter way to warranty. Visit upsy.com. Ever wonder how much your neighbor's house is worth? Go to ownerly.com to search home value estimates and compare. Your home could be worth more than you think. Visit ownerly.com today.
I love my parents. So as they've gotten older, we've had to have some not so fun conversations about their wishes if something were to happen to them.
As an estate planning attorney, most people that would come to my office were looking to create a will for their family, but many couldn't afford the fees.
That's why we started Trust and Will, a modern and affordable approach to estate planning.
Attorney-designed documents, customized by you, all through an easy-to-use website.
The way a will should be. Find the plan that's right for you at trustandwill.com.
I think I'm a good-looking guy, but I have these noodly arms. Look at them! Well, dude, your t-shirt fits you terribly. You should wear True Classic tees. They'll fit you perfectly. Whoa, these are so much better. Now I just gotta do something about this gut. I just heard about this company, True Classic Tees. Go on. Apparently, they fit you perfectly. These are incredible. Who told you about these? Saw them in an ad that we're doing right now.
Now, Joe Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, faced questions from the Senate today during the second day of her confirmation hearings. But unlike Democrats, Republicans, they focused on Judge Jackson's record, her judicial philosophy, and exposed the Democratic double standards when it comes to Republican nominees. That dates back decades. Here's Senators Graham and Cruz from earlier today. Take a look.
Do you know Janice Rogers Brown?
Yes, I do know her.
Did you know that Joe Biden actively filibustered Janice Rogers Brown?
I did not know that.
There are two standards going on here. If you're an African-American conservative woman, you're fair game to have your life turned upside down, to be filibustered no matter how qualified you are. And if you express your faith as a conservative, all of a sudden you're a effing nut. Look at the friggin' Afghan government. It's made up of former detainees at Gitmo. This whole thing by the left about this war ain't working.
Let me also note that Larry Thompson, who served as Deputy Attorney General under...
So, Judge Jackson, all of us will agree that no one should be discriminated against because of race. When you just testified a minute ago that you didn't know if critical race theory was taught in K through 12, I will confess I find that statement a little hard to reconcile with the public record.
I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist or though they are not valued or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that.
And I'll confess, Judge Jackson, as I listened to your testimony, I believe you are someone who is compassionate. I believe you care for children, obviously your children and other children. But I also see a record of activism and advocacy as it concerns sexual predators that stems back decades and that is concerning. You say requirements that sex offenders register may or may not be unconstitutional depending upon whether, quote, in which sex offenders have no privacy right in registration information or blood samples. So you suggest that may or may not be constitutional, although you raise doubts about it. Do you still agree with the sentiments you expressed in your law school note?
Respectfully, Senator, those are not the sentiments that I expressed in my law school note.
Now, the hearings will continue tomorrow and are scheduled to conclude on Thursday. Here now with more is Texas Senator Ted Cruz is with us. Senator, look, I want to start with this. She wrote once that every judge has a personal hidden agenda. And when I heard that, I'm thinking, what is her hidden agenda? We ever get an answer on that?
Well, no, and when it came to critical race theory, she didn't want to answer the question. She claimed she didn't really know what it was or what it contained. Of course, she had previously given a speech at a law school where she said that sentencing, what judges do, involves critical race theory. And I got to say, there was a lot of discussion about her record when it concerns sexual offenders, and in particular, sexual predators targeted at kids. As you just played, I asked her about what she wrote in law school that suggested that the laws that many states have passed providing for civil commitment for violent sexual predators, that those laws are unconstitutional. And you know, we went through every single case that she's presided over as a district judge where the defendant was convicted of possession of child pornography. Every case that she had discretion in, she consistently sentenced the defendant to substantially below the sentencing guidelines and substantially below what the prosecutor asked for over and over and over again. She averaged sentencing them 48% less than the prosecutor asked for, and that was in 100% of the cases where she had discretion, where there wasn't a plea agreement or a mandatory minimum sentence. It really is a disturbing pattern, and when she was asked, for example, one case involved an 18-year-old man who had multiple videos, explicit videos of young children, 12-year-olds, 11, 10, as young as 8 years old, engaged in explicit sexual activity, in one instance being the victim of a violent rape. And she sentenced the 18-year-old man who had these videos on his computer to just 3 months in jail. The federal sentencing guidelines said 10 years. She gave him 3 months, and I got to say, when she was asked about it, she couldn't give a good explanation about why repeatedly she gave light sentences, lenient sentences to sex offenders when the law didn't support that.
I watched the exchange. I couldn't believe it myself, Senator. I want to go back to critical race theory. More specifically, I believe the speech you were referring to was at Michigan's law school. Yes. And she had praised the 1619 Project, which argues fundamentally that the U.S. is a racist country. And in that speech, correct me if I'm wrong, did she not make clear that judges that she believes should consider CRT in sentencing?
That's explicitly what she said, is that sentencing, she was talking about how interesting sentencing is, and she says it involves lots of things, including critical race theory. And when I asked her about it, she initially contended she had no idea what it was and that it had nothing to do with her job. And then I confronted her with her own quote saying that sentencing involves critical race theory, and she didn't have an answer to that. Look, it's a little bit of the game, unfortunately, that we've seen from Biden judicial nominees, where they claim to have no philosophy, they claim not to know anything about whatever they believe, and then they get on the bench and they vote hard left. And I think there's real reasons to have concerns that if Judge Jackson becomes Justice Jackson, that we will see a vote on the far left, very possibly the furthest left of any of the 9 justices, particularly on criminal justice issues. It's an odd thing, but for 30 years, she has been advocating lighter sentences, more lenient treatment for sexual offenders, both sexual offenders who target kids and just in general, sex offenders. And I got to say that doesn't make any sense to me, and I think to most Americans.
What about the issue of court packing? She refuses to answer that question. I'm a little surprised why she refuses to answer that question. Simple question. She says it's a policy issue. Do you see a constitutional question involved?
Well, there's not a constitutional barrier to packing the court. Congress has the authority to alter the number of justices, and over the years Congress has. But for over 100 years, it's been set at 9. The person who she's been nominated to replace, Steve Breyer, has said we should stay at 9. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who passed away just over a year ago, she said it should stay at 9. And so Judge Jackson just doesn't want to answer it. And I think part of the reason she doesn't want to answer it is the people who are actively supporting her nomination, the people who lobbied the Biden White House for her nomination, the people who have devoted and pledged over $1 million to a campaign in support of her nomination. They're the radical extreme left. They've described the Constitution as, quote, trash, and they're the ones pushing the campaign to pack the Supreme Court. And so Judge Jackson did not want to address a view one way or the other on the question.
I noticed there is a great difference between, say, the way Democrats treat Republican nominees to the court. I'll name a few names: Robert Bork, Clarence Thomas, Justice Kavanaugh more recently. Do you see any of your Republican colleagues, like Lisa Murkowski, I assume, Mitt Romney, and the usuals, supporting her nomination?
Look, I think it's certainly possible. I think the names you suggest would not shock me to see them vote in favor of this confirmation. I hope that they don't do that, but on any close contested political issue, you can see them casting a vote with the Democrats. What I hope every Republican does, and for that matter, what Democrats ought to do, is look to her record and ask, is this a justice that would defend the Constitution? As you know, the book I wrote 2 years ago, One Vote Away, How a Single Supreme Court Seat Can Change History, that outlines how free speech, religious liberty, the Second Amendment, they all hang in the balance, and we ought to ask, would this justice protect our constitutional rights?
Well, do they believe in co-equal branches of government, or do they believe they can legislate from the bench? Do they believe in the Constitution or not? Pretty simple questions, important principles, and all we get are prepared talking points in many hearings. That's what I felt like we were getting today. Senator, thank you. Good to see you. Coming up, new explosive book detailing the tension, the disconnect between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We've got the most shocking revelations. Laura Trump, Miranda Devine are next. Straight ahead.
This is Roundup for lawns. This stuff works. This stuff kills weeds down to the root without killing your lawn. This stuff works on dandelions, crabgrass, clover. This stuff works for up to 3 months. This stuff works guaranteed or your money back. This stuff works on big lawns, small lawns, and I guess you can call that a lawns. This stuff works without killing your lawn. This stuff works without killing your weekend. This stuff works for the rookies and the seasoned pros. This stuff works in Knoxville, Bronxville, Rockville, Marysville. This is Roundup for lawns. This stuff works.
Play all your favorites together in one exciting game with daily rewards and free spins, plus mega bonuses every 15 minutes. Get 2 million virtual coins just for signing up. Cashman Casino. Download now to claim your 2 million virtual coins.
As someone with hearing loss, I know what a confusing and frustrating experience getting hearing aids can be. That's why I founded Lively. High-quality hearing aids with all of the features you need and none of the hassle. Lively offers Bluetooth FDA-regulated hearing aids delivered to your door for thousands less than you'd expect, and remote access to an audiology team 7 days a week. Better hearing has never been this easy. Try Lively risk-free for 100 days. Visit listenlively.com.
Listen, guys, our numbers are down. I am really concerned with that.
We had that meeting on Tuesday, and again, I'm sorry to say, it was still
We're going to go line. Do the X39 3 disaster.
Tonight's special is going to be an oven-baked salmon and a 32 sweet reverse with an extra dip.
You're going to get steak, right?
Yeah. Need more football? The USFL kicks off April 16th on Fox.
I need something I can set it off. Join Tubi in celebrating women.
That's good.
They lead.
I can help myself.
Okay. They inspire.
They believe in you. So good! So good!
They empower.
These artists were trailblazers. What they've done really made an impact on all of us.
A month of movies and TV shows honoring her story.
Well, I'm just glad they liked it.
Tubi. Watch free.
There's not a lot to do in Flatch.
Get hyped.
Raise it up! Raise it up!
Because you can watch Fox's Welcome to Flatch anytime.
Can you believe it?
Thursdays, catch an all-new episode on Fox.
Awesome!
Plus, stream the first
Seven.
episodes.
That's a lot.
Because once you visit Flatch, you'll want to stick around.
Is this really happening?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, is this reality?
Welcome to Flatch. Thursdays on Fox. And stream the first 7 episodes on Fox Now or Hulu.
Before I lost the weight, I definitely wasn't feeling like myself. Mentally, it was a difficult time for me.
The picture showed this huge guy, and I'm like, oh my God, is that me?
Having to ask for seatbelt extenders, that's pretty embarrassing.
Now is the time for you to try Nutrisystem with food that is new for 2022.
It's hard to even believe this food could help you lose weight.
You jump on the scale and you're like, yes!
Nutrisystem follows a high-protein, low-glycemic approach that keeps your blood sugar steady so you feel full as you lose the weight. And wait till you try new premium meals with up to 30 grams of protein. And that's not all that's new.
New restaurant favorites are my favorites.
I love the toasted raviolis.
Get meals and snacks delivered free with a money-back guarantee.
I look at pictures now and I'll go, you look good.
Act now and get 50% off all plans.
I've lost 127 pounds.
40 pounds. 47 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Go online or call 888-913-SIZE to get 50% off all plans.
When you can't watch, listen. Get the latest news, business, and news headlines on SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
Brand new book from a pair of New York Times reporters is revealing deep tensions between the Biden and Harris camp, chronicling a White House consumed by total distrust and total dysfunction. Now, for example, according to the book, Biden's communications director became increasingly frustrated by Vice President Harris's performance, even suggesting that the problems may not be with the staff, but the vice president herself, a claim Biden's communication director disputes. The authors describe the Biden-Harris relationship as, quote, friendly but not close. And even First Lady Jill Biden apparently expressed concerns with Harris being chosen as VP in the first place, telling a close advisor that there are millions of people in the U.S. Do we have to choose the one that attacked Joe? She had a few disastrous moments of late. Take a look.
And talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Oh, sounds like she's teaching a first-grade class. Here with reaction, Fox News contributors Laura Trump and Miranda Devine. Laura, I'll start with you. Harris allies complain that she was handed an impossible portfolio. Now, her portfolio was border czar, voting rights, chairing the National Space Council, leading an effort to extend broadband. Not exactly the toughest assignment. And then Joe's comms director saying that, yeah, the problem's her, not really her staff. Your reaction to this?
I mean, you know, you have to kind of laugh at this, Sean, but it's really actually very upsetting to see. This is the vice president of the United States. Yeah, you just laid out a couple of the jobs, the very few jobs that she actually had. She has done none of them. She has failed miserably at everything she's been handed. These are not hard jobs, by the way. Go back to what Donald Trump did. He had all of this stuff in line and working very well. I can't help but think back to all of the critics, the people that when my father-in-law was elected said, wait a minute, we have a guy, a businessman that has no political experience, an outsider coming in. This is going to be a disaster. We're going to have chaos in America. He's going to destroy this country. There will be wars breaking out across the world. Yet, of course, none of that happened when Donald Trump was in the White House. It's happening right now under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and this disastrous White House. and administration. It's just such a shame that in the name of getting rid of mean tweets, Sean, we also got rid of low gas prices, affordable groceries, a secure southern border, relative peace around the world, strength and respect on the world stage, jobs and opportunities abounding here in America. And obviously the list goes on and on. But the most important thing was competency coming out of the White House. And obviously that is totally extinct. One of the pieces of information that we recently learned out of the vice president's office is that she's been worried about her staffers embarrassing her, Sean. Well, you just played 2 recent clips of her there. Clearly, she doesn't need to worry about the staffers embarrassing her. She's doing a great job of embarrassing herself. But this is what you get whenever you choose somebody not based on merit, not based on the best person for the job, but solely based on identity politics, which is exactly what Joe Biden told us was the only requirement for his vice president. It's such a shame. It's so sad. And the worst part, Sean, we got 3 more years of this left. What a mess.
Well, very well said. Miranda, I don't know what's worse, the passage of time lecture we got yesterday, or Ukraine is a country in Europe, Russia is a country nearby, and Russia did a bad thing and they invaded Ukraine. I felt like I was being talked to like I'm in first grade. And I'm like, this is the vice president? That scares me.
Well, and what about when she went home to Poland? She said, I'm standing here, right here. I mean, the list of Kamala's greatest hits just goes on. And the funny thing is that this book shows that she's blaming the White House. She's blaming Biden's staff. She says that they're not giving her enough respect. She's cross because they don't stand up when she enters a room. But there's no one that she can blame for herself standing up every time she gets onto a stage and making a fool of herself. She looks like an extra out of an old Cheech and Chong movie, you know, some sort of a stoner waving her arms around and speaking in complete nonsense. So she is amazingly is not learning from her mistakes. She has not improved. I mean, it's one thing to be a neophyte and not very good at your job, you know, a year ago, but she's had a long time to learn on the job. And I think the White House has given her a lot of different jobs. She's had pretty much any job she wanted. And maybe this is the way they like it, because Joe Biden's doing such an appalling job. But the idea of getting rid of him and replacing him with the vice president just is not on, because Kamala Harris, it looks like she would be even worse. And certainly the American people, judging by the polls, think that she would be worse. The sad news is that number 3 in line is, of course, Nancy Pelosi. So we are in dire straits.
Add to that the awkward giggling at inappropriate times, which we didn't have time for. But anyway, Miranda, thank you. Laura, thank you. Always good to see you both. Jen Psaki, Hillary Clinton both announced today they have COVID. Plus, Biden is facing more miserable poll numbers. We've got them all as his endless crises continue. We'll explain straight ahead.
With my hectic life, you'd think retirement would be the last thing on my mind. Thankfully, Voya provides comprehensive solutions and shows me how to get the most out of my workplace benefits. Voya helps me feel like I got it all under control.
Voya. Well planned, well invested, well protected.
Do you struggle to fall asleep and stay asleep? Cunol Sleep Formula combines 5 key nutrients that can help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed. The brand I trust is Cunol.
Do you find yourself buried in paper? This is the end. The end of paper.
The Epson Rapid Receipt Smart Organizer easily scans all your documents.
Paper goes in, and stress goes away.
It's the only solution on the market specifically designed to extract and digitize key data trapped on receipts and invoices. And it integrates with financial software like QuickBooks and TurboTax. Transform paper documents like contracts, tax records, warranties, wills, even recipes into searchable PDFs. So the information is always right at your fingertips, safe and secure. With this exclusive TV offer, you'll get over $300 in added value, including a robust time-saving software bundle, plus get free shipping and a money-back guarantee. Act now and save up to $100 for a limited time.
People everywhere love the Epson Rapid Receipt Smart Organizer.
When tax time rolls around, my clients need me to be ready. This smart organizer allows me to digitize my clients' tax documents, invoices, and financial records.
There's even a mobile rapid receipt you can use when you're on the go.
It's like a secret superpower. I use it to digitize receipts from my expense reports at my home office and on site. And back at the main office, I use the desktop scanner for large closing documents and client contracts. They go straight to PDFs, so I can get signatures and share digitally.
Oh, it's wonderful. I can organize important paperwork and even save my kids' artwork. So it's safe and secure, easy to share with the whole family.
Really, Mom?
Hey, yeah, let's go.
With this exclusive TV offer, you'll get over $300 in added value, including a robust time-saving software bundle, plus get free shipping and a money-back guarantee. Act now and save up to $100 for a limited time. Go online or call to get an Epson Rapid Receipt Smart Organizer delivered right to your door. Epson Rapid Receipt. Visit buyrapidreceipt.com or call.
Piece of cake, baby.
Russian forces continued their targeting of civilians.
The capital city getting blasted.
Get up-to-the-minute reports from the front lines on Fox News Channel.
I think I'm a good-looking guy, but I have these noodly arms. Look at them! Well, dude, your t-shirt fits you terribly. You should wear True Classic tees. They'll fit you perfectly. Whoa, these are so much better. Now I just gotta do something about this gut. I just heard about this company, True Classic Tees. Go on. Apparently, they fit you perfectly. These are incredible. Who told you about these? Saw them in an ad that we're doing right now.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. Attention all women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. If you or a loved one used talcum powder for routine feminine hygiene and later suffered from ovarian cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. The use of talc-based powders has been linked to ovarian cancer. Call right now.
Call 800-514-2596.
I started Upsy because I was tired of watching people pay too much for store warranties. We offer lower prices, no pressure, and better customer service. If you're tired of their way, come try the Upsy way.
Upsy, the smarter way to warranty. Visit upsy.com.
Want to increase your home value? Find out what it's worth first.
Just go to Ownerly.com, enter the address, and see the home value instantly. Come to Ownerly.com and see what your home is worth.
All right, Joe Biden jetting overseas this week for this first trip to Europe since Russia invaded Ukraine, but Press Secretary Jen Psaki will not be making the trip after once again now testing positive for COVID. This is her second time. Hillary Clinton also announcing today she tested positive, said she's feeling fine. Bill, as of now, is negative. Of course, we sincerely do wish them a safe and speedy recovery. But Biden, Fauci, we also need to warp speed monoclonal antibodies. Joe, you might want to pay really close attention now, and antivirals, so that every American that gets COVID, and its cases have risen dramatically in Europe, that means they're probably going to rise dramatically here. It's already happening in New York, and people can get the therapeutics as quickly as possible. Now, you said, Joe, that you didn't see Omicron 1 coming on the heels of Delta. Okay. Let me give you a headline. Omicron 2 is coming, and you need to prepare. And what we have now is a very different situation than we had 2 years ago. Fully vaccinated people with boosters, people fully vaccinated with boosters and even had COVID before are getting reinfected. So your one-size-fits-all vaccine mantra is not preventing transmission. So it's well past time, Joy, to pivot to therapeutics to save American lives, kind of like what Ron DeSantis did, a year and a half ago when he set up monoclonal antibody centers in Florida. Now, by the way, Biden's trip abroad comes as his poll numbers are cratering. Look at this. Reuters poll has Biden's overall approval rating at their lowest number of 40%. Emerson, a whopping 83% of voters say they are experiencing hardship due to rising costs, the 40-year high of inflation. Donald Trump holds a 12-point favorability lead over Joe Biden, including a 9-point advantage over suburban voters. And in a hypothetical matchup, Trump is ahead 45-42, and his numbers continue to crater with independents. Joe only has 24%, according to Reuters. Here with the reaction. Insider Advantage pollster Matt Towery, along with Trafalgar Group Chief pollster Robert Cahaley. Matt, we start with you. If I was looking at these numbers and I'm a Democrat, I think I'd probably say I'm retiring like with the 30-plus other House members that have had enough.
Yeah, I'm surprised, actually, the White House hasn't asked Robert and I to try to give them some advice, because I think we have better ideas to get him out of this terrible funk. It is a disaster. I mean, we've seen this. It started with Afghanistan. The numbers started to drop. And since that time period, there's been very little good news to bring Joe Biden back up. And he did get a slight bounce, and I think you and I talked about it. I thought he would get a quick bounce when the war began, because Americans rallied behind their president at wartime. But Jimmy Carter's situation, when Russia, then the Soviet Union, invaded Afghanistan, same thing. He got a bounce. He went to 50, which was really high for Carter. He went back down. And what we're seeing right now is Biden going off of a slight bounce and beginning to come to a new low level in terms of his overall approval rating. And I don't know where it stops.
Yeah, let's get your take, Robert. Where do you see your numbers, I think, had Joe Biden lower. I think Matt's numbers had Joe Biden lower as well. Where do you see this, and how does it impact the election, which is not far off, as we're now heading into April? This election comes pretty quickly in November.
Absolutely. You know, people look back and, you know, there are things about Trump that made them uncomfortable, but Biden's policies are making their families' lives unbearable. And it's shown in his poll numbers. And there's a lot of buyer's remorse out there. And, you know, his party's going to take quite a nice little lick in the midterms. And there ought to be great concern, because nothing seems to be going well, and everything that they're doing seems to be out of whack. And, you know, all the things that people were saying, this couldn't be true. You know, Hunter's laptop was real. That they were spying on Trump's campaign. The virus did come from Asia, and on. I mean, it did come from China. They're beginning to realize everything they were told isn't right, and they're reacting.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll say this, and I think you'll both agree. Every state needs to realize, because almost every state has laws for elections, that partisan observers get to watch the vote count from start to finish. Not 1,000 feet away, not 100 feet away, not 20 feet away. They need measures, and they need some type of clarification and accommodation that every partisan observer watch the vote count, so we have integrity in the elections and competence in the results. Thank you both. More Hannity next.
Hunter Biden is the most protected person in the country.
He was given race and favor jobs.
These doors magically open.
He had a roaring sex addiction, videotaping every aspect of his life.
And walked in a customer clutching MacBook Pros.
It's not stuff that you would ever want to see the light of day.
Offering to pay Joe Biden himself.
Now, Houston, you got a problem here.
Judge Janine Pirro hosts Who is Hunter Biden? Streaming now. Only on Fox Nation.
It's lawn season. Now I need a lawn. Quick. Fast way to bring it up to speed. Scott's Turf Builder Rapid Grass. Rapid Grass is a revolutionary mix of seed and fertilizer that will change the way you grow grass.
It grows 2 times faster than seed alone for full green grass in just weeks.
After growing grass this fast,
everything else just seems
slow. It's lawn season. Let's get to the yard.
Download the Scott's My Lawn app today for your personalized lawn plan.
Guys, it's time to get what you want. With help from Ageless Male Max, the doctor-recommended solution for boosting testosterone right at its source, while supporting a rapid 64% boost in nitric oxide production, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Get the undisputed best-selling testosterone booster nationwide and be the man you want to be.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your policy, even a term policy, for an immediate cash payment. Call Coventry Direct to learn more.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our income.
Our friends sold their policy to help pay their medical bills. And that got me thinking. Maybe selling our policy could help with our retirement.
I was skeptical. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. They explain life insurance is a valuable asset that can be sold.
We learned we could sell all of our policy or keep part of it with no future payments. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we can relax and enjoy our retirement as we had planned.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies, or call 1-800-983-6200. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Attention Medicare recipients. The Inogen One Portable Oxygen Concentrator may now be available at little or no cost to you. Call 800-714-9414 to order yours today. Inogen oxygen concentrators are portable and make oxygen from the air around you. They're light, quiet, and battery operated to go everywhere you go. And we have a full line of portable oxygen units to fit a wide range of budgets. If you're on Medicare, you may even qualify to get your Inogen unit at little or no cost to you. Go back to joining friends for the breakfast special, make spending time with the grandkids easier, or start attending your religious services again. Call Inogen now for a free information kit and a free no-obligation consultation on our complete line of affordable portable oxygen products. And anyone on Medicare or with eligible insurance plans may qualify to get an Inogen One at little or no cost. Call 800-714-9414. That's 800-714-9414.
Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series makes a right turn in Dakota, where a battle at the road course awaits. The Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix, Sunday at 3 Eastern on Fox.
Streaming on Fox Nation.
I remember all of it. The greatest robbery in American history.
The story that inspired Goodfellas.
$6 million just disappeared.
The Great American Heist. Streaming now, exclusively on Fox Nation.
This just in, a Fox News alert, a massive tornado just captured on video touching down in the lower 9th Ward neighborhood in New Orleans in Louisiana. We pray that everyone there is okay. We'll bring you more information as it becomes available. Please stay with the Fox News channel for continuing coverage. In the meantime, let not your heart be troubled. The Ingram angle is...
Fox News alert, a large tornado tearing through New Orleans overnight, killing at least one and injuring more than 24. At its peak, more than 16,000 people in the region lost power. Officials are asking everyone to stay inside while first responders assess the damage. One man says the twister nearly took his life.
Man, that's crazy. I just really was this close to death. I was just driving in the tornado just now. Thank the Lord, none of us was hurt. I'm here to talk about it.
In Texas, communities are still picking up the pieces after about 1,000 homes were damaged when the same storm system ripped through the state earlier this week.
To another Fox News alert now. The flooded city of Mariupol facing Russian naval attacks after weeks of relentless land and air strikes. Officials on the ground there say the place has been reduced to ash and resembles a dead land. You're watching Fox Friends First here on a Wednesday morning. I'm Todd Pyro.
And I'm Carly Shimkus. The ground battle continues for key cities, including the capital, with the Ukrainian army recapturing one suburb but partially losing others. The Pentagon says Putin is frustrated with the slow pace of the invasion, and now a spokesman for the Kremlin refusing to rule out the use of nuclear weapons in the war.
And I want to know whether Putin intends the world to be afraid of the nuclear option. Would he use it?
President Putin intends to make the world listen to and understand our concerns. Well, we have a concept of domestic security. And, well, it's public. You can read all the reasons for nuclear arms to be used.
And that's certainly not very reassuring. Jonathan Hunt live in Lviv with the latest on the ground. Jonathan.
Todd and Carly, good morning to you both. We are getting word just within the last hour of some intense Russian shelling of two areas just outside of the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. The tank shells falling rapidly in the last few hours. We are told several people have been hurt. We're waiting for confirmation of casualty figures. Meantime, Ukrainian tanks, as you see right here, are fighting back in various areas in in and around the capital city, and particularly in one suburb or small town just outside of Kyiv called Makariv. The Ukrainian forces are said to be pushing back Russians to some extent, although it is essentially street-by-street fighting there. So taking a block at a time doesn't necessarily mean there are significant gains by the Ukrainians. But clearly Russian troops are having trouble not just in the fighting but in getting their supplies. Take a look at some interesting video we got hold of here. These are Russian forces pulling up at a gas station, going into the attached convenience store and essentially helping themselves to whatever they want. It speaks very significantly, we think, to the kind of logistical issues that Russian forces are having here in simply getting fuel and food to the troops on the front line. In the meantime, the devastation in the southern port city of Mariupol is all but complete. It is really shocking to look at the pictures, the Russian shelling, the Russian missiles hitting street after street, apartment building after apartment. Civilians in their thousands, we believe, according to Ukrainian officials, may have died there, and they are still trying to get the 100,000 or so civilians trapped in there out. President Zelensky accused Russians overnight, Russian forces, of actually intercepting one of those humanitarian convoys and kidnapping the drivers of the buses who were simply trying to get ordinary Ukrainians out to safety. Todd and Carly?
Yeah, Jonathan, I just want to focus on the spokesman for the Kremlin who warned that Russia could use nukes if there's an existential threat to their country. Would you characterize that as an escalation, more of the same? And does the Biden administration need to respond to a comment like that coming from Russia?
I would say that is more of the same. President Putin and now one of his Kremlin henchmen saying that they have nuclear weapons, that they are prepared to use them if necessary. It's all part of the same messaging, and it is a message of intimidation. We don't know, Carly, nobody knows whether President Putin would be absolutely willing to use nuclear weapons, in particular the ones he might turn to first, tactical nuclear weapons, those smaller ones that would affect a smaller area. We simply do not know, but it's certainly a threat they want to hang over the rest of the world right now. Todd and Carly.
Yeah. Jonathan, besides ransacking the random gas station convenience store on their route, how are the Russians resupplying their troops the deeper they get into Ukraine?
Well, they have to resupply them via road, so they're coming in from the east, from the Russian border. They're also bringing supplies from the north, from Belarus, which is a nation we haven't seen get involved directly in terms of troops, but they might yet do that. So, but you're right, Todd. They're having to bring in those supplies over greater distances. That is giving Ukrainian forces a chance not just to attack the Russians at the front, but also to get in behind them and attack those supply routes. And that absolutely is something that is going on, because they feel if they can starve the Russians of the supplies they need, then that will help them gain an upper hand. But I have to point out, Todd and Carly, as we talk about the Ukrainians fighting back, going on the offensive a little more, we have to still be aware that they are doing so against a huge and powerful army. So if this turns into a war of attrition, the huge and powerful army is still going to have the advantage in that. So while there's some optimism that the Ukrainians have halted the Russians for now, you can't put too much weight on that given the sheer size of the Russian army. Todd and Carly.
Yeah, that is such a good point and a great reminder. Jonathan Hunt, live for us in Lviv, Ukraine. Thank you so much. President Biden getting ready to depart for Brussels this morning for an emergency meeting with NATO leaders.
He's expected to announce new sanctions against Russia and measures to reduce Europe's dependence on Russian energy. Doug Lazada live for us in Washington with a preview of the summit. Doug.
Good morning. The president is scheduled to depart the White House in just about 4.5 hours. This is going to be something of a whirlwind this week with NATO, EU, and G7 summits all scheduled tomorrow in Brussels. Russia's offensive against Ukraine continues despite coordinated economic sanctions, and the Wall Street Journal reports that the president will announce new sanctions going after, among others, Russian lawmakers. The administration is also seeking to make Europe less dependent on Russian energy, but National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan would not get into many specifics.
He will join our partners in imposing further sanctions on Russia and tightening the existing sanctions to crack down on evasion and to ensure robust enforcement. He will announce joint action on enhancing European energy security and reducing Europe's dependence on Russian gas.
Okay, the U.S. is also said to be considering bolstering U.S. forces that are permanently stationed in NATO countries. And, you know, NATO has some difficult decisions to make, including what would constitute a red line that could trigger a response.
Putin is waving around weapons of mass destruction. NATO has got to sit down, find their spine. There's got to be no doubt in Putin's mind that we will come back at him for doing something like that.
Okay, and not traveling with the president on this trip, Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who has just come down with COVID for at least the second time. Reuters is reporting, in the meantime, that the administration is going to make it easier for Ukrainian refugees to come to the United States. Todd and Carly.
Douglas Ader, thank you. Back in 2014, a human rights lawyer met with then Vice President Biden and warned him that Ukraine needed more weapons to stand up to Russia.
And now 8 years later, she is echoing that sentiment. Oleksandra Matvichuk, head of the Center for Civil Liberties in Ukraine, joins us live from Kyiv. Oleksandra, good morning to you. What is your message this morning?
My message is the same that previous whole months when Russia started this large-scale invasion. Ukraine sooner or later will win and Putin will lose. We need a time, and in order to provide us this time, we need long-range distance weapons. We need air defense systems. We need fighter jets and planes in order to protect civilians from Russian shellings.
What do you need Joe Biden to do today to help your people? Not tomorrow, not months from now, not weeks from now, but today.
Today we need from Joe Biden to express leadership, not only for American people, but for the whole world. When we say that we're asking for this kind of weapon for a month, now we have totally destroyed Mariupol. And we don't want another Ukrainian cities to transfer to the Mariupol for current moment. So I know that it's very scary to defend freedom, human rights and democracy. But we ask all Western leaders to go beyond the zone of comfort and to stand with Ukraine.
Yeah, well, President Biden is heading to Brussels today ahead of the NATO summit tomorrow. And he is expected to announce sanctions on 300 members of the Russian government and discuss ways to wean Europe off Russian gas. What is your reaction to that? Is that enough? Are you satisfied with that possibly being the only outcome of this summit?
We need more. We need to show the Putin the high price of this invasion in order to stop him and possibility of Russian economy to feed this war. We need ban of all Russian banks from SWIFT, not several. We need ban all trade of Russian oil and gas, also for European leaders. We need to put Russia in blacklist of FATF and other such kind of measures.
We mentioned your 2014 meeting with Joe Biden and then Vice President under the Obama administration. Did Joe Biden and the Obama foreign policy establishment fail to learn from the lessons of Crimea when you look at how they're handling this conflict?
I totally believe that sooner or later all Western democracies will do everything which Ukraine will need in this moment, because now we in civilization battle between autocracy and democracy, and it's not about Ukraine. Ukraine is only forefront of this battle. But the problem is that I don't know how much time we have, how much time I personally have. Will I be a witness of this unity or not?
Yeah, and Alexandra, how did that conversation go with then Vice President Biden? You said that Ukraine needed more weapons. What did he tell you at the time?
He responded with a general thing, as I remember, about support of the United States to Ukraine. And we felt this support, but it's not enough. So we are very grateful for solidarity. We are very grateful for the whole imposed measures. But we need more in order to resist and to repeal the Putin.
Alexandra Matvichuk, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. We hear your message loud and clear.
Thank you.
Many Ukrainian civilians are taking up arms for the first time to defend their country, and an Arizona business is providing them the tools they need to learn how to fight.
Mike Farrell, president of Smart Firearms Training Devices, joins us now. Mike, this is pretty remarkable, if you ask me. How are you able to train all these people, many of whom have never held a gun before in their lives?
Hi there. First of all, thank you very much for having me on. I really do appreciate your time. And we're not training one person. We're not training anyone. The Ukrainian trainers that they have over there have all the expertise in the world. They have the best trainers in the world exist inside the Ukrainian National Police, inside the Ukrainian military. What we're doing is just providing them with the training weapons that they need, with laser targets and everything that they're going to need to provide that training when their infrastructure goes away. And that's unfortunately happening by the day. But as far as the actual training goes, that's being conducted, as it always has been, by the trainers inside Ukraine, who are, as I told you, the best in the world.
How many training weapons have you provided to Ukraine, and how are you getting them into the country?
Yeah, I won't talk about specifics, but basically it's gotten very easy as far as getting them over through the various countries that are bordering Ukraine. They all want to help, especially the NATO countries. They all want to be part of stopping this invasion. So as far as all the red tape that might have existed, even 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, is really not there. All the governments there want to help. As of right now, we've probably gotten 50 training weapons in. We have another 50 that are en route, along with the associated target systems. And those are important because coupled with the training weapons, you could possibly train 2 to 3 lanes of people every day. No need for a range, no need for live rounds, and all of the other things that they just are not going to have access to as some of these cities get closed off.
Mike, I know you gave credit to the Ukrainian trainers. You obviously do need to take some credit for sending these very valuable training tools to the people. But let's focus on the Ukrainian citizens themselves. How impressive is it that they are able to learn so quickly?
I mean, I've spent quite a bit of time in Ukraine, and it doesn't surprise me at all. The Ukrainian people are impressive, to say the least. They love their country. There's, even before this war, there's a feeling of real solidarity about being Ukrainian and really being, unfortunately, right on the front lines of a war between two completely different forms of government, and these choices that we're going to be making is how Eastern Europe is going to look. So as far as their ability to learn, I am in awe of the Ukrainian people's resistance to this invasion, and I'm in awe of the Ukrainian army, the job they've been doing at keeping a force many times their size at bay.
Mike Farrell, thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for doing what you're doing for the people of Ukraine. There is other news here on a Wednesday. A southern Oklahoma community in mourning after a crash takes the lives of 6 teenage girls. The high school students were killed when the car they were in collided with a semi-truck in the town of Tishomingo. The school superintendent says our hearts are broken and we are grieving with students and staff.
And to the crisis at the southern border, where CBP agents in Texas rescued a 4-year-old girl abandoned on a riverbank by human traffickers. Agents in the Del Rio sector say this comes just weeks after another 4-year-old girl drowned in the Rio Grande during an attempted crossing. Officials in Del Rio also reporting encounters with 4 separate groups of more than 100 migrants over the last few days.
Supreme Court Justice nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson will face another round of questions this morning after a marathon first round lasting over 13 hours.
Marianne Rafferty is live to break down some of the most tense moments. Marianne, good morning.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. Well, Republicans not holding back during a grueling 13 hours of questioning of Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. Some intense moments between the judge and GOP senators. At one point, Senator Lindsey Graham even storming out of the hearing as they clashed over big issues like court packing and concerns over her handling of child porn cases and her history of handing down lighter sentences than required by law for offenders.
Do you agree with Justice Breyer and Justice Ginsburg that court packing is a bad idea?
It is a policy question for Congress.
But you say this does not signal a heinous or egregious child pornography offense. Help me understand that.
All of the offenses are egregious. But the guidelines, as you pointed out, are being departed from even with respect to the government's recommendation.
Senator Ted Cruz also calling out Judge Jackson for sitting on the board of a school that allegedly teaches critical race theory to students, which she says she does not support.
Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist.
Okay, so you agree critical race theory is taught at Georgetown Day School?
I don't know, because the board does not control the curriculum.
Also of concern for Republicans, the judge's record on abortion rights, which she says is settled law, and her stance on Gitmo detainees since she worked to defend some of them.
So this idea she's a neutral observer of the law, not an activist, is not passing the smell test.
Today is the last day of Q&A before 11 Democrat and 11 Republican senators can ask questions of the American Bar Association and other outside agencies, and outrage among Republicans alleging that Democrats withheld Supreme Court nominee documents from the nomination process. Todd, Carly.
All right, Marianne Rafferty live for us. Thank you. Did you hear this? An explosive new book by a pair of New York Times reporters reportedly revealing a major rift in the West Wing. They say the vice president's staff was flooded with a, quote, impossible portfolio of tasks. But White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield apparently placed the blame squarely on Kamala Harris, citing her missteps as senator and presidential candidate. The book also reveals the president threatened to fire White House staff who leaked negative information about Harris. It claims Joe Biden summoned staffers into the Oval Office after a June report portrayed Harris's office as an abusive environment. The book alleges, quote, if he found that any of them was stirring up negative stories about the vice president, Biden said they would quickly be former staff.
We have a lot more on this book coming up later on in our program. Meantime, this video, absolutely bone-chilling. Take a look. It shows the man suspected of abducting 18-year-old Naomi Irion lurking around the Walmart parking lot where she was last seen. That was more than a week ago. And Naomi's brother joins us with an update on that search coming up next.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how unsafe New York City's streets are, but criminals just reached a disgusting new low. A 9-year-old girl sucker punched at random right outside the iconic Plaza Hotel. We're going to be talking to the hero doorman who stepped in until cops arrived. Coming up.
Introducing the all-electric Chevy Silverado RST, the only EV truck that combines four-wheel steer, a multi-flex midgate, and up to a 400-mile range on a full charge. And the only way to reserve it is at Chevy.com. Find your future, find new roads.
Parents and grandparents,
Are you aware that your children's teachers are brainwashing them with socialist ideals? Help your kids resist the left's sinister agenda with Mike Huckabee's free Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism. This important free gift will help kids learn why socialism is bad for America and how they can help fight back. It's part of a free gift bundle that includes a magazine and video lesson. To learn more, just visit kidsfightsocialism.com. That's kidsfightsocialism.com.
I'm Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas and 2016 presidential candidate.